This one, Tricia Mitchell, kids. So I'll go down there to the Michael Steve Hughes full version. That's what I want to see.
Let's call the meeting to order. This evening. Item 2, the invocation this evening will be given by, where'd it go? Damon Burpo with the Driftwood Fellowship Church. Damon, glad you're here.
Thank you.
I know you've been here before. Thank you. Aaron, would you lead us in the flag salute, please, after the invocation?
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this great city of Enid, Oklahoma. I thank you for these men and women who give of their time and service to steward what you have given us, Lord. Give us your thoughts, your ideas, Lord, and give us divine direction. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4, consider approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting of August 15, 2017, and the special commission meeting of August 30, 2017.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Ben, second by George. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. For item 5, awards, presentations, proclamations, and organizational business. Item 5.1, present the pet available for adoption at the city animal shelter.
Camera shy.
That's how you pick up an animal. Lesson learned. My name is Officer Free with Enid Animal Control. I'm with the Enid Police Department. And this happens to be Cindy. Cindy is about a 9-month to a 1-year-old shepherd mix, possibly mixed with Staffordshire Terrier, also known as Pit Bull mix. She is a great dog. She has been in here loving on everybody that came up to her. She's been loving on the children back there and loving on the city attorney here. Hey, she needs a home. She just became available for adoption. We would love for her to go out the door with a home that's somebody that loves her. She loves to play. And if she's not one that you would think of, we do have a lot of pets at the animal shelter. If you don't know that we do have an animal shelter, come out and see us. We would love to give you a tour, have you come out, and tell you any questions that you have. We'll be happy to answer, okay? Thank you so much. You have a good evening.
Thank you. Item 5.2, we have a proclamation for Walk for Our Kids Day. And then after that, we have one for the Enid Rotary Club 100-year proclamation.
All right, Mr. Mayor and everybody in the audience, commissioners, this proclamation is for the Walk for Your Kids Day. Whereas Garfield County is estimated to have nearly 2,000 individuals with disabilities living in the community, and I need to give you this, Mr. Mayor. This is the actual proclamation. With 162 individuals receiving state-supported services and 272 on the waiting list to receive services. And whereas the For Our Kids Foundation has been dedicated to providing support and opportunities to individuals with disabilities in the community since 2003. And whereas through vocational opportunities, recreational opportunities, community services, education, and advocacy, the For Our Kids Foundation has maintained an extraordinary record of providing support to children and adults in the city of Enid. And whereas the city of Enid encourages our residents to support the For Our Kids Foundation and take steps to support the children and adults with disabilities and their families by joining the For Our Kids Foundation Walk 2017. And whereas on September 9th, through 2017, the For Our Kids Foundation will be hosting the annual Walk for Our Kids to support the programs that provide educational, vocational, social, and recreational opportunities to children and adults in Enid, Oklahoma. And now, therefore, I, Mayor Bill Shuey, on this important occasion, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, and on behalf of the City of Enid, do hereby declare September 9th, 2017 as the For Our Kids Foundation Walk for Our Kids Day. And so, Mr. Mayor, Tricia Mitchell is here, and you brought some other folks you'll be introduced in just a moment. Yeah, please introduce your folks. And
Okay, well, these are some of our board members. I have Margaret Williams, Melissa Cordes, and Lynn Dunn here with me. And we're just really excited to have a chance to be out in the community, for the community to see what we do. I invite everyone to come out Saturday. We have 18 teams. We've already raised about $36,000. So that is what supports our program every year. There's no admission to just come to the park. The rides will be open. We'll have a bounce house, food trucks, just lots of stuff going on. So please come out and enjoy the day and learn about what we do. Thank you so much for this.
thank you. Mr. Mayor, we have one more. And this one actually will be presented at the Rotary Club 100th celebration that's going on pretty much starting right now down at the CNB Center. But I want to go ahead and read the proclamation, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the Rotary Club of Enid, Oklahoma, duly formed on September 1st, 1917, with the principle of service before self, and with God's grace, has richly served the Enid, Oklahoma community for 100 years. And whereas the Rotary Club of Enid, Oklahoma celebrates this long history of service in our community, serving many individuals and many groups who, with this dedication of Rotary, has made their lives and our lives richer. And whereas the Rotary Club of Enid, Oklahoma began its distinguished history in Enid only 10 years after statehood by two visionary folks, Dr. Julian Field and Dr. Art Piper, receiving Rotary Charter number 326. And whereas the Rotary Club of Enid, Oklahoma is the second largest Rotary Club in the great state of Oklahoma and has made community leadership and Rotary membership synonymous. And whereas the Rotary Club of Enid, Oklahoma, with programs from local to international, fulfills the object of Rotary, which is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of worthy enterprise, and in particular to encourage and foster, first, the development of acquaintance as an opportunity for service, second, high ethical standards in business and professions, the recognition of the worthiness of all useful occupations, and the dignifying of each member of their occupation as an opportunity to serve their society. Third, the application of the ideal of service be every member to their personal, business, and community life. Fourth and finally, the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a world of fellowship of business and professionals united in the field of service. And whereas the Rotary Club of Enid, Oklahoma will celebrate 100 years from its distinguished and visionary beginnings on this day, September 7th, in grand tradition on the grounds of the CNB Center in Enid, Oklahoma. So now, therefore, I, Mayor of Enid, Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim the day of Thursday, September 7th, 2017, is Rotary Club of Enid, Oklahoma Day. Even though they're over there, I guess we can give them an applause.
Item 6, hearings, there are none. Item 7, community development, there are none. Item 8, administration. Item 8.1, consider an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 3, entitled Business and Licenses, Chapter 3, entitled Food Service Establishments, Section 3-3-12, entitled Mobile Food Vendors, to provide for multiple locations to include sales tax exemptions for farm products when sold or grown, to shorten and simplify the application process, and to limit background checks to mobile food vendors that canvass residential areas catering to children and to reduce the distance restrictions from 150 feet to 100 feet, and to adopt Section 3-3-13 entitled Seasonal Food Establishments, which include prior regulations for snow cone and fruit and vegetable stands, to include sales tax exemptions for farm products when sold where grown, to shorten and simplify the application process, to allow seating to be approved for seasonal food establishments by the program administrator, providing for repealer, savings clause, severability, and codification.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ben to approve, second by Tammy. Further discussion?
I just want to make it kind of clear, because I've been asked a few times by some food truck people that the purpose of this is not really changing a whole lot, other than it's making the application process easier. It's reducing the distance a truck can park so that we can do our downtown, people can do downtown events and things like that. And then who is required to have a background check. It's making the process a lot easier. I think some people anytime you change an ordinance like that, people get concerned. So I just wanted to let them know that that's what we're doing with it. We're making it actually easier instead of complicating things more. That's all.
Any other comments? We have a motion?
Yeah.
Ben and Tammy?
Yep.
Seconded. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 8.2, select and award community development block grant, CDBG funding, to a local organization to administer the after-school youth program for the city of Enid in the amount of $59,122.
Thank you, Mayor,
Stephanie?
Commissioners, City Manager. Dana, would you pull up the Excel spreadsheet 8.2? It's kind of small, but these are the scores that were submitted. And there is the rank for Zoe, ranked number 1, Making a Difference 2, Booker T. Washington 3. There were a few comments made on the applications, or on the score sheets that I will actually read. Sorry. Zoe, the comments were made that it's an excellent program, much room for growth, and a director with a passion and a great vision for the future. Making a difference. There's a great vision for future growth and touching the entire community. Lots of potential, but needs to show it can work. And Booker T, the program has a good framework, but not pushed its potential in several years. A pillar in its neighborhood, but struggles to fund its mission. Should seek to form long-term relationships with the greater Enid community. And compared to the 3 entities, it appears there are funds available, and this organization does not seem to have made as much effort to obtain those available funds. It is concerning to me that they rely solely on the United Way and any city funds they may get.
Are you saying that 4 out of the 7 people that scored turned in their sheets?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're also saying that Mayor and Commissioners, this is part of the hard part of being a commissioner and the mayor. It's the good part, too, I guess. You get to make a difference by determining where this funding goes. I know that, just to follow up on where we've been, just to recap, last time at the meeting, I believe it was last time, we had presentations by all 3 groups, and that was about 3 weeks ago. And in between, we had site visits by many of you to 2 or 3 of these groups. So I know this is important to all of you, and I know that you've thought about this decision. I want to make sure, because it is your decision, and if you feel like you're at a point you can make that tonight, you can make it. If you feel like you need more information or more time, we can certainly work with you on that, and you could choose to table it if you want to. But we're at the point that you guys have, 4 of you turned in scorecards, and I know the 3 that didn't probably have your thoughts about these programs. Now's the time you can discuss amongst yourself. There's probably some people signed up for this that you could probably hear from. It's time to make a decision one way or the other. If there's something that you need from us, please let us know. And if I'm missing something, Stephanie, if we need to add something else, please add it.
I'd like to ask a question. Stephanie, can you tell us exactly the purpose of the funding from a HUD standpoint of it? For CDBG funding for after-school programs?
All 3
What
programs
is the
qualify
criteria that you have?
for CDBG funding. They all, this is like picking your favorite child. They all serve different areas. Not everybody is going to go to Booker T. Not everybody's going to go to Zoe. Zoe's a younger program. Booker T serves the age group that's in the RFP. So there's more points given in that area. It's a tough decision, and that's why you guys look at the program, you look at the application, and you make a decision from there.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to point out the fact that Councilman Pankinen and Councilman Waddell, they're responsible for, and myself, for having the monies reallocated back into this CDBG funding. And if I may, I'd move a motion that all the funding be given, evenly distributed to each one of these programs. I'm putting institution and organization out of my mind. When I look out there and I see all these children sitting out there, personally, the children, I'm soft. I can't say no. Because if we choose 2 or just choose 1, someone's going to be left out. No matter what administration does, I can't say no to our children. And that's the reason why in your in-service, Mr. Waddell and Mr. Pankinen and myself chose to bring some of this money back to this funding. And we know that it can increase. We know that it can increase. In all fairness, I feel, rather than leave 1 left out, evenly distributed, see what they can do with it. Next year comes, if you can't produce, then you're out. But I think everyone ought to have a fair start out of the blocks. I think everyone should have a fair start, an even start out of the track blocks. If you can't make the lap, so be it.
I've got a question, Stephanie. I want to make sure I understand something right. So what we are providing for and what we are allowed to provide for funding when we are providing program funding is we can give a program funding to grow. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can we give a program additional funding to operate at current capacity at any point?
It has to be a quantifiable increase in service.
And that's my concern with this. Isn't this year, it's next year.
Yes.
So we can give a program some funding and give them the opportunity to grow that.
Yes.
But in order to receive funding next year, they would have to grow over and above what they did in the first baseline year.
Yes.
Well, and actually,
and part of what,
excuse me.
and part of my problem with this is I don't if we split it three ways, are we setting up none of them to be able to make quantifiable, sustainable growth? Whereas if we give one program a significant infusion of cash, could they make a big one-year leap with the understanding that don't come back asking for the same amount of money next year, because unless you can demonstrate that you can make that same level of growth jump. Because I don't want to be in the position of funding a currently struggling organization simply to serve the same number of folks, because I don't think we can do that. And I also don't want to be in a position to set anybody up to fail where they rely on the money this year and it's impossible to get it again next year, and they have to shut down a program or limit. And I've got a gap here. I don't know how we do that.
We could set that standard, and that could be before the contract is signed. You could say, we're going to fund you on the contingency that next year, say you're going to do 25 kids this year. Next year, if you're funded, you're going to do 50 children. If you can't do 50, then don't come back.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be the same level of growth I don't think they have to double their growth.
Right. I'm not saying, I just threw out a random
They'll be competing
number.
next year too.
Right, I just think they would need to continue to make progress.
Well, I don't know that we can actually guarantee anybody that this funding's going to be spent on this next year. I mean,
Right.
we don't know how much money we're going to have, number one. And based on past experience, we don't always fund the same organizations. We just fund year in and year out. And I'd like to, go along kind of what Commissioner Ezell was talking about, is that, to me, this is basically, they have to consider this as basically one-time funding. And that it needs to make a difference where it goes. I mean, I wouldn't want to spend the money if I didn't think it was actually going to make a difference. If it's just going to continue an existing program or subsidize or support a program that's not going to actually grow or make some significant changes as a result of this money.
My question is on that, Ron and Ben. What happens if they're all successful?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying they're not successful now.
No, I'm saying.
But I mean more successful.
If we see more increase,
Yeah.
we take a chance every day we leave home. You know what I mean? We can't predict what's going to happen. All I'm saying is give the children a chance. I'm not talking about an organization. This isn't my money. It's none of our money that we went out and worked for. These are tax dollars. Government tax dollars. Let's give the money where it needs to go. That's the problem with our country today. You might be up today, but you can be down tonight. I've been there. I've been homeless before.
I don't disagree with any of that.
Hold on, Ben. Hold on just a second. I've been homeless before. I could tell you a story about my life you wouldn't believe. But it's the goodness of God that I'm here today. Now, we got to make a decision together. We went in there in hope that all of these organizations would receive. Let's forget about that. They're children. They need it. Whether the administration blow it off or not, then they have to answer to the children. City Commission, the mayor gave it to us. It's like a parent. He gets paid. Either he's going to take care of his family or else he's going to blow the money off. Dad, why did the lights go out? Their dad, Mom, the lights went out. Let them explain it next year. But right now, while we have it, let's give it to them.
Durbin, I want to reject the premise of what you're arguing here. I don't disagree that it should go to people who need it, but we have to make some justifiable, quantifiable decision on which organization will use it best. We can't, as a governmental entity, simply say, well, everybody who asks gets it equally without having some basis that they're all equally deserving, or here's why we think this makes sense. I'm not saying we don't use the money for the benefit of the public. I frankly think that all the money we use is for the benefit of the public in one form or another. You know, the playground investment. A lot more kids will use playground than any of this, but playgrounds are really expensive. So we have to do this calculus with everything we do. And so I'm not, by arguing that, by arguing something different, I'm not saying that we shouldn't use the money. I'm saying we have to get the biggest bang for our buck. And the biggest bang for the buck may not be divvying out equally. The argument you gave me a little while ago, I like the metaphor that this is like watering 3 trees to let them grow. Here's my concern, that it's not enough water to go around, that we should be dumping it all on the tree that's going to get the best growth. And I don't know how to, that's so difficult to quantify, but I'm not yet convinced, and maybe you can convince me, but I'm not yet convinced that the best use is divvying it out. What I don't want to hear just generally that we should be using it. We're clearly going to be using it. I want to know why all 3 organizations have an equal chance of using this money for growth. I want to know the hard, not the emotional stuff. I want to know the hard data, because eventually this is a data decision. They're all going to be helping kids. That's great. But we got to make the money go as far as it can, right? So, I mean, I don't...
You want the proof of how it can work? Sometimes in the game, there's an underdog. Go to the Super Bowl. Everyone that go doesn't win every game. Many times, some of the teams that come out, they barely make the playoffs, but they get to the Super Bowl. And guess what? The one that everyone predicted to win, they lose. We've seen it happen. Y'all remember the game with the Giants?
But I don't want the touchy-feely stuff, though. I want the hard data. Give me the data here.
This is realistic. This is data. This happened.
And go ahead and place it.
The Giants, the New York Giants was what? Said to have they're not going to win it. It's no way. Brady and they're going to get it. They're going to win it. They got it. What happened?
Second.
Huh? They came in second, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Okay. You look out there. Hey, who knows? The one that we think isn't going to make it, many times end up being the greatest.
But I don't even know what that means when we're talking about giving up this money.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
Okay.
One at a time. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I'm a data person too, and I'm just going to lay this out here. The research that I went and I pulled data over the course of the past 20 years. And I looked at CDBG funds, and I looked at city funds. And over the course of the past 20 years, over $1 million has gone to one of these programs. Just in the past 10 years alone, over $350,000, probably closer to $400,000, went to one program. Now, all 3 of these programs are comparable in how many people actually are served in that program and the economic status of the area in which it's served. So just purely if I was to get into we want to do analogies. If I was to go to the stock market and I was going to say I'm going to look at the trends of a stock or a business on what they've done with the investment that's gone with that business over the course of the past 20 years, I will look and see, based on the rate of investment, what is the rate of growth and what the rate of expansion has had with each one of those businesses over the time frame. And if I look at a business and it's been around for 5 years, and it's hit the same mark as a business that's been around for 40 years, I'm going to bet on the horse that has a higher rate of growth and a faster rate of growth than one that has been stagnant over the course of the last several years. That's just purely from an investment standpoint, just looking at the rate of investment and what your return is on your investment. And I hate to put this purely down to dollars, so I'll take it away from just the investment aspect of it. I took a look at all 3 of the programs, and I looked at what the community investment is as far as small donations and in donations from local businesses in order to be able to see that have looked at these programs and evaluated whether or not they thought this program was going to succeed and invested in those programs with those dollars. And still, there was one program that was higher than the others, and it's been around for 5 years. So for me, again, if I go purely on just what I look on statistics, looking on the rate of growth and what the community, again, has invested in, even with their own dollars, not just with tax dollars, not with federal dollars. The community has said, based on where they want to put their investment, they put their investment in one of these programs. And so I'm not necessarily saying I'm just lobbying for one, but what I will say is that if we're going to take somebody else's money, and this is someone else's money, this isn't just money that comes out of the air. Every person who pays federal taxes puts this money into the system and says, I want this money to go towards the furtherment of my community. If I have an obligation as a public official to take that money and put it in a place where I know and I can defend that there's been a history of return on investment in that area. So this, for me, it's as difficult as it is in order to be able to put it in those terms. As an official, I have an obligation to do that. If it's money out of my own pocket and I want to bet on bet on the underdog in order to, in the hopes, I can do that. But it's not my money. That's all I got to say about that.
Commissioner Azale?
Yeah.
In the application, I will say that Zoe and Booker T, the cost per child is about it was identical, $571 per child to run, and Making a Difference was $890 some odd dollars per child per year. You were asking a number for?
I mean, that was current operation. We don't have any calculation on marginal cost per child for additional growth, I assume.
No.
I mean, it's so hard to, and that's what's so difficult about this decision, is it's so hard to quantify that marginal cost level. I mean, a program with excess capacity at current operating cost will take less additional funding to get those kids, whereas a program that is capped out on staff and room, it's a much bigger investment to get to that next cohort. I don't.
We just have to realize that even though they're all youth programs, we're comparing apples to oranges in some cases.
It's rough.
But by the same token, I laid all three of them side by side and turned over the front pages and just looked at the numbers to do it the fairest way in my heart that I could do it. Because I believe sincerely that every one of these programs is worthy and does great things for their communities. So I looked at the numbers to see, okay, how do we figure that? Because it's like splitting the baby. It's a horrible, I hate this time. I hate when we do this every time. I hate it. This is my least favorite thing we do ever. So I looked at the numbers, and I looked at the leveraging dollars, and I looked at kind of what Jonathan was talking about was the investment that have been made. And when you look at everything across the board, I don't know any other word to use than hustle. There was one particular group that hustled harder than anybody else. That pot of money is there for everybody that it qualifies to get it. But it seemed like there was at least one that went after that pot of money a lot harder than anybody else did. So everybody had the same opportunity, and I didn't understand why everybody didn't take it. So that was where I looked at a lot of that. I was like, okay, these people bring a lot. They have a lot invested, and they bring a lot to the table, whereas everybody else didn't bring as much to the table. And I'm sure there are reasons for that. I don't know what they are, but we had to look at the numbers. And that was where my decision landed, was because I was looking at kind of like what Jonathan was saying, the investment that the community has made and that they have gone out and worked for. And that to me, that spoke loudly to me.
Wait a minute. We have at some point, I don't feel convinced enough to make a motion, but I'm very interested in. I'm interested in this. I like this discussion. I just don't want to let Derwin's motion go unanswered or let it die in the vine or anything.
We don't have a motion, and we're not going to have.
Well, Derwin made a motion. I don't think there was ever a second. Okay.
Well, I'm not going to accept because we've got people that are signed up to
Okay,
talk.
that's cool. I just didn't want to let your motion
withdraw
hang out
your
there.
second and your motion until they have a chance.
I wasn't seconding. I was just pointing it out.
Who did second it?
No one.
No, nobody did.
No, nobody second. Yes, sir.
We're going to let them talk because they signed up to talk. George?
I don't want to make a complicated discussion more complicated, but growth to me does not always mean we had 25, now we've got 28, so we grew 3. Sometimes growth means last year we were able to do this, and we've done X number of things to make the situation better for the same 25, but they've grown somehow. They've become better citizens. They've learned more information. So growth does not always mean numbers, and you can't always count bodies to come up with growth. Right. And I know that makes it even more complicated than it is already, but I'd like to see a program that is the most beneficial and a program that grows and matures as time goes on, not just one that adds more candidates.
But we've got to be able to describe that somehow.
I understand that, and I said.
You can grow up without growing out.
One at a time.
Up without growing
One at a time.
Well, nobody told me.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Say-
like you can mature.
say one.
I'm right after you.
Okay, okay.
Are you through over there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I've talked to the administrators, different ones, with these organizations. They're willing to work together. And I think that's very important. And I also think it's very important that we rally together as a community. And if we really love children, we're not going to let any of them fail. So whatever it takes to get it done, let's get it done. And they're willing to work together. So if they're willing to work together, we'll see what they have to say. If they can come together and work together, I think it'll work. That's all I have to say.
I'd also like to say, to Ron's point, unless you want to address it.
No, after you.
To Ron's point about we don't know whether this money will be used on this next year, I know that I've been here 6 years, and from the beginning of my time here, I have tried in some fashion or another to get the city to focus on after-school programs. And it wasn't until you guys came along and pushed it harder and said, this is where we want to spend the money, because I was kind of by myself in that for a very long time. And so now we've had more voices added to that pot, and we've got with this started. So my hope, and I know that Jonathan feels, we've talked about this, I think that there's a hope that we can maybe keep using some of this money to do an after-school program, because a city Enid's size, it's frankly ridiculous that we don't have a better after-school program. Not that anybody's isn't great, but they don't have nobody has a community-wide reach. It's for a city this big. We don't have a Big Brothers Big Sisters Club. We don't have anything like that in this town. And we have 50,000 people. There are towns much smaller that have much smaller budgets that have much better reach to their kids. And I think that has been something that we've been remiss in taking care of. And so to Ron's point, I would hope that we could establish some kind of more permanent, or not even permanent, but maybe over the course of a few years, help to establish something, because I think as community leaders, we need to show that we do believe in our kids and that we want our kids involved and that we want to give them these things. And I think that we haven't done that. And I know that if the community feels that way, because you see it every day in the paper and they say we need something for our kids. People are begging for something for our kids. And so I would hope that we could, that as a city, that we could continue helping some of these kind of after-school programs, or establishing one citywide one, or something. So I would hope that we do continue to do this with some of this money, at least some of it, even if we don't do it with all of it.
I happen to agree with Derwin's line of thinking. I would rather help 300 kids than 100 if we were to give it all to one group. I think the need is there, and I look at the kids myself. Help as many as you can, and monitor it, see what happens. And that's going to be a year from now, or budget time.
Yes.
We have.
Mayor, can I make one more?
Yes, sir.
The only thing that I would say to that is that looking over the city budget, the city records, is that at some point in time, the city got the taste for helping programs like this went away. At one point in time in this city, we were giving at some point almost $20,000 a year out of city funds to programs like this, and in addition to that, even more in CDBG funds. And at some point in time, the city got to a point to where that stopped being a priority. And I can tell you what'll get you to that point. If you, as an individual, have money out of your own pocket, and you begin to put money into something and you don't see a dividend that comes out of it, you don't see progress, you don't see growth in what you're putting your money into, you're going to stop putting your money into it. If you don't have if the only vested interest that you have in it is that the money that you're putting into, you're not seeing any benefit out of that, you're going to stop putting your money there. I believe that's what happened. Whether it was true or whether it was just perception, I can't tell you that. But I can tell you that it happened and it stayed for quite some time. So I would just encourage you to say, look, and for us on the council, at some point in time, we're going to have to stand before not just the folks in this room or just the people from these programs, but from every member of this community and the city as a whole, and answer to them what was our rationale behind putting the money in whatever program that we choose. Thank you.
We have 3 people signed up. Before I go there, Diane, are you signed up on this one? No. Okay. First one is Clifford Porter with Booker T. Washington. Clifford?
Yeah.
You know what that means?
That means,
5 minutes.
well, at all due respect,
We've heard this.
at all due respect, let me tell everybody who I am. I'm Clifford Porter, and I'm with the Booker T. Watch Community Center. But Mayor, at all due respect,
Need your name and address.
Booker T. every time holds to you all's time limit, where everybody else come up here and do 30 minutes and we don't say nothing. So out of respect for this process, at least give me an opportunity to respond to the comments that's been made in regard to these programs.
I made a note of those times last time.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And you were the least.
All right, I appreciate you noting that, man. But let me say this by thank you for being here. And one thing we didn't say, and we have to acknowledge, I want to send our thoughts and prayers to the families in Houston. And we're going to pray for the folks in Miami that they get through this horrific, these storms. So we want to recognize that as we go on with our everyday lives. But let me say this. I want to say I appreciate the commissioners who did take the time. I've always said this, to take the time to go on site visits and at least look at the programs. If you made your decision based on what you saw and what you feel, you won't get an argument out of me. But something has been said here tonight that I'm having a hard time processing, and maybe you all can help me out. I've been through probably 6 CDBG administrators. And every year, we do a pre-CDBG application meeting. And everybody has been different thus far. Everybody has set criteria for this money to be dispersed, and it's been different. And you cannot fault programs for coming back when they put it out there and make it eligible for you to come back. You cannot fault us. And that's what it sounds like I'm hearing today. Well, in a number of years, this organization got this, and that. Well, if it was eligible for those organizations to apply, we have to recognize that most organizations are going to apply. But let me say this, Booker T. Washington, Ron Jensen, I'm going to address you. You asked me last time I spoke, Clifford, how long have you been running and working at that place? I said around 35, 40 years. And part of it, we did basketball programs together. And you can confess to this, I probably brought 3, 4, 5 teams in your league every year. Those students, those people were coming to the Booker T. Washington Community Center as a part of our programs. Where nobody else wanted those kids, Clifford took time out of his schedule to give them kids hope and give them an opportunity to function in the city of Enid, in the walls of the city of Enid. Good or bad, I'll say this. We can talk about dollars, but good or bad, Booker T, since the mid-'70s, had been open to that community and others for recreations and places to go. Number one, to you all's point, to keep kids off the street. You didn't want them running amok of drugs, alcohol, prostitution. You wanted education programs to help the kids further their education abilities. And y'all came to Booker T, not this commission, but the commissioners in the past. This is why we're where we're at today. And they say, can you, Clifford, do you have a program? So I created an evening basketball program opposite of the YMCA. They operate on the weekends, we operate on the weekday. Just to adhere to what we were asked to do. I'm going to say this from my heart. We always appreciate what the city has done. We appreciate the efforts of the commissioners. But as Commissioner Derwin said, here's where I lie. I'm not a Harvard graduate, nor do I have a master's degree in none of this stuff. But all that represent Booker T, please stand. Just plain stand. You're looking at probably 2 or 3 generations of folks that came through that center, 2 who went to school there when it was operating as a school during segregation. That building, that program has benefited this city tremendously. We're talking about dollars, but we're talking about people, and then we want to talk about measurements and what those dollars have done. She's got a brother in Colorado. What does he do?
He's an IT director for Focus on the Family.
I have a brother who's in California. He's a top executive for CarMart. Got a nephew who is a principal in Alabama. These folks came through that program. We're talking about growth and what it does. And today, to this day, we're talking about 2 decades. Today, we now have a van that was donated to our organization that we didn't have it last year. We only had an SUV. So I was only bringing 3 and 4 kids to the center. That's all I could pick up. That's all we were able to get. But we had a van donated, so now we're bringing 13 more to the center, and we're driving as far as Prairie View, just like Zoe and everybody else, to pick up kids to be a part of a program. So when we sit here and talk about, when I look at these measurements, I respect everybody's decision, especially the ones who got out and saw the program. I'm very fond of people who get out and make their opinion based on what they saw, not based on what they heard and what they think, actually what they saw. When those 3 commissioners came to our building, they saw in that gym and in that building kids from the age of 4 to probably 15 or 16. If you could correct me, am I right?
Right. Yes, sir.
That's what you saw in that building. This is what the application asked us to address, and asked us could we address those needs 9 to 14. We believe we can. We've been doing it for 35 years. What you deem good or bad, we've been a profit for this city of Enid. Drugs in the Southern Heights community ran amok from 75 to 89, and they spent millions of dollars getting drugs off the street. People would not let their kids come across to attend Booker T for that reason. Today, we're so diverse because of the job the city did get the drugs off, and you know what? We keep the kids off the street so they don't go out and learn how to do those things, as do these other programs. So when we start saying one program ranks better than the other, now we're getting into a popularity contest. That's what I feel. If you haven't been in Enid as long as I am, you're making this opinion. It's kind of hard for me to accept it, but I will, because you have a hard job to do. But monies, I am telling you, whether we get the money or not, I am here to tell you, you will find that in that part of the community, East Park, some of these kids who won't go to Zoe or to Booker T, somebody's gonna go home, cut their finger on a knife, or accidentally stab their little brother, because we don't think one of these organizations aren't any good because they've been getting money for several years. I'm here to say, on the record, CDBG dollars have really helped Booker T flourish. We used to operate on one main floor. Because of CDBG, we got 3 levels operating now. And we use all 3 levels. We ran into some bad luck because we had Wheat Hard Nutrition in our building. That program no longer exists for several years, and we were getting $13,000, $14,000 a year for them being in our building. But when they left, and then when the next group of commissioners came in and yanked CDBG away from small organizations like Booker T and the YW, good programs, and we see people like Junior Welfare League, programs like that receiving CDBG funding. A couple years ago, I was standing here defending Booker T.
Please wrap it up.
I will. I was standing here defending Booker T. $500 every time by giving Booker T and Taft School, they were wanting to give $10,000. So we were told priority was part of the criteria of CDBG funding. Booker T was right in that gray area, high priority. So I don't know how we got here, so I'm here to say, on behalf of the people we serve, we have done the best we can, and we have spent CDBG dollars very well, and it went to a good cause. So I'm just here to say, whatever decisions you make, it is about the children, it is about the public that we serve. We don't just serve Southern Heights, we serve this whole community. I've been around for a long time, and if there's monies out there that was out there we should have got, we'll get it if y'all tell us that it's out there, and maybe we don't know. But we've been told no so many times, and every time when it comes to CDBG, Booker T, the poorest, I look at us as the poorest organization, we always have to fight for that little bit of money. When I see bigger organizations like CDSA, they get thousands every year. I hear no questions about that. They get thousands and we don't say anything. But we ask for $20,000 and it's a big discussion. We need to see numbers. We need to see data. And how do you think that makes me feel as a citizen, a law-abiding citizen in this town, that I'm doing the work, the same kind of work everybody, I'm trying, and we get that kind of regiment just for that little bit of money. So I just want to put that on your minds, and I know you have a hard job. I appreciate the time you put in, but I had to say that. I do speak from the heart. I hope I didn't offend anybody, but that is just reality. And what we're talking about is data and numbers. But those people and those children, that's reality. That's reality. That's who's going to get left out on these decisions. So God bless you. I hope you guys make the right decision.
Thank you. We have two individuals signed up, Justin Simmons and Kelly Osborne. By the way, your 5 minutes just went to 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I don't really have anything. Justin Simmons.
I'll tell you when to wrap it up.
Okay, thank you. 1420 West Owen K. Garriott, Suite 4C. And Kelly is our assistant director at Making a Difference. We don't really have a speech or anything to say, but wanted to sign up in order to provide any information that you guys have to ask.
I want to say something.
Speak into the mic, please.
We're the 5-year-old program, and I just got to say, Justin and I, we put 700, 800, 900 hours of free time into this program for 5 years. We're going to keep doing it because we got a passion. And if you came in and look at what we've done with a staff of 5, if you could see how much we've accomplished in that, with that money, and the amount of hours that we've had donated for free time, if we had this money, we can serve a lot of these kids, and we can reach these teens. I was at a daycare today with a kid who is getting ready to get kicked out of daycare, and I said, you just wait, we're going to open this program. You give us a few weeks. And I promise you, if we have the opportunity, we will reach these teens that don't fit in anywhere. They don't go to daycare. They don't fit in at these other programs, but we will make a program for them. We've been doing it for 5 years with an after-school program 4 days a week, and we've been working hard, and we grew from 6 kids 5 years ago, and we run over 30 kids now on a staff of 5. And if we can add 3 or 4 more staff, we will make a really good after-school program for our teenagers. And the difference in cost, the $800, what we're going to offer these kids is days at the Y, days at youth fields where they're going to get to do paintball, they're going to get to do zip line, so many fun activities every single week. So yes, the cost per child might be a little bit more, but that's because these kids, to engage these teens and to get them into our program every single week, we're going to have to invest some money so that they have a reason to come to us every week, every day of the week. And that $800, I'm not sure how much it will be when we actually get the program up and running, but I can promise you that we're going to engage these teens, and we will grow this program over the next year.
Some of the initial cost is also supplies that we don't have because we don't have a after-school program running till 6 o'clock at night, doing the activities that we're doing. So there's a lot of equipment for games and entertainment and so forth that is a first-year cost that may not be there every single year. Any questions?
Questions?
Thank you all very much, and this is one of those times where I'm really glad I'm not sitting in your chairs. Respect you all for being willing to be up there and making this kind of a decision.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
Is that everybody that signed up?
Oh, wait a minute. That is it. Well, you're really not signed up, but yes, why? Yeah, I need your name, and we need your name and address, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
No, come on up. Go ahead.
Oh,
Speak into the mic, but your name and address.
my name is Esterline Sanders. I live at 901 East Park. I was born and raised here in Enid, Oklahoma. And I want you to know, Mr. Ben, I've been on CDSA for 15 years. Y'all have got a lot of money for CDSA, and I have not received anything. But one time, went back down there and asked them for help, and they didn't even give it to me. And my name been on the list for 15 years. Now, why? Why?
My mom is the executive director of CDSA.
Why?
I don't.
Another thing
I think she does a great job, but that's her job.
Have helped a lot of our black kids. Okay? A lot of the black kids don't even have vacation. Only vacation they got is at Booker T. This young man here, he helped my son. I was a parent, didn't have no one to help me but my Jesus. And worked at St. Mary's for 28 years. But he helped me with my son every time I had a problem because he didn't have no mail, in the household. This young man here took time and helped me with my son, showing him how to be a man. Do you understand what I'm saying? Showing him how to be a man. Now, if it ain't nothing but 25,000 or 20,000, you need to help Booker T. I was the first one went to Longfellow from Booker T, cried because I had to leave Booker T to go to Longfellow. So all of y'all have had vacations, every last one of you. But black kids don't hardly have none. So help Booker T.
Your motion.
Make a motion that we give an equal distribution to all three of the after-school programs with the CDBG funding that's available.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. You want to read the motion back? Please.
To give distribution to all three programs of the CDBG funds.
Further discussion? Hearing none, cast your vote. At 5-2, the third one down, not very right. Motion carries 5-2.
Mayor, Commissioners, would you clarify how you would like the split?
59,122 divided by 3. So
Okay,
that's roughly
divided.
about $19,000, I believe, whatever the math is.
Okay, just divide it.
Let's do that.
All righty, sounds great. And for the record, my comment on the cost per child, they're all doing it dirt cheap, and $896 was not an insult at all. It was just a number that I was pointing out.
Item 8.3, consider a resolution supporting continued participation in Main Street programs.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Tammy, second by Ben. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 8.4, consider a request for inset parking at the park area along Stonebridge Lane and at the community building along North Ridge Lane in Forest Ridge First Edition, blocks 1 through 4. Robert?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. This is a request for inset parking in a residential area, which typically does require Commission approval. It has gone to the Planning Commission. We do have a couple slides here to show the what the request is. This is in Forest Ridge Development, which is a subdivision being developed next to Valley View, which is an existing subdivision just off 30th Street. This map I have here shows 412 on the north and 30th Street just on the east side of the map here. You can see the area on about the center of the map where Forest Ridge is being developed. This subdivision is developing a park area and a community area and requesting some inset parking to provide parking on the street. Those areas kind of highlighted locations on the aerial map shown. We'll go to the next presentation, which just shows the layout of the subdivision. Still, north is up, but this is the park area being developed part of the plat on the northeast corner, and you can see where they want to put some inset parking. And the community building is proposed in this lot number 1 at, I think that's on North Ridge Street there. Next presentation, now this is proposed inset parking at the park area. We've turned a little bit so the north is to the left as we look at it. But you can see the cul-de-sac area that's normally put in these subdivisions and the proposed location for the inset parking. The next one is on North Ridge. Again, you can see north is to the left. You can see the area where they proposed inset parking just off of, just inside the normal curb area of North Ridge there, and the location for the community building.
Robert, clarify one thing for me. Exactly what is onset parking?
Or inset parking. Inset parking is parking where, in this case, where you angle in, you go straight into the side and have to back out. Basically, what it occurs, you have to back out into the street, such as we have down in the downtown area. Inset actually means that the curb is inset or pushed in to allow for the parking, as compared to normal parking, which is
I guess what confused me is that the description you made, it sounded like this was extremely unusual, but we've got a lot of inset parking in the community, so.
Yes, and now that can address on the final section. This is a copy of the traffic policy manual for the city of Enid, and address the issue of inset and parallel parking. And if you look at item number 3 there, I'm going to get to that here. It basically identifies that inset parking, its policy that inset parking is generally not permitted in residential areas. It is used a lot in the downtown areas you're familiar with and in commercial areas, but it's generally not recommended in residential areas. However, except in areas where you may have a cul-de-sac or where you have community uses where it may be appropriate and offset in off-street parking is not available. The Planning Commission looked at these recommendations, and based on this recommendation, looked at the request and supported they thought the inset parking was appropriate in these areas. But basically, it's not used in residential areas unless you have specific projects where it makes appropriate use. But they recommend approval, and our recommendation is for approval as well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ron, second by Ben. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Item 8.5, consider a resolution authorizing a general fund transfer of $22,282 to the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Aaron?
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, the Enid Public Transportation Authority has been notified of 2 awards for 5339 grant funds for buses. What we're requesting is to purchase the 3 buses that they are going to grant match on those. And in order to do that, we need to transfer additional funds of $22,000 from the general fund. We don't need to increase the budget of general fund. We're just repurposing money within general fund, but I need authorization to transfer that over to the Transportation Authority so that we can make that purchase.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ron, second by Jonathan. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 8.6, approve and execute a professional services agreement with Mr. Mike Cooper for military liaison consulting services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ron, second by Tammy. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 8.7, approve and execute a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Enid and the Internal Association of Firefighters, IAFF.
Mayor,
Joe.
Commissioners, I encourage you to approve this agreement between the Firefighters Union and the City of Enid with the cooperation of the union leadership and under the direction of Gerald Gilbert. I think we came out with a finished product that's beneficial both to the city and to the fire department. The biggest change that was made was a revision to our pay plan that I'll say rewarded more than 50% of my department. Over the last 3 years, 50% of my personnel were topped out in the pay plan. We've added an additional step. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you, in those 44 out of probably 88 of my firefighters have really not received much compensation increase for the last 3 years. And this provided an additional step for them to move to.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Tammy, second by Ron. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Not going to hang around, huh?
What is he still on the clock?
Yeah.
Item 9, consent items.
Move to approve.
Motion by Ben, second by George. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 10, we will now recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. All of the trustees at the Enid Municipal Authority are in attendance at the regular meeting. Item 12, the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 12.1, award and execute a purchase of one 310 SL backhoe loader for the Public Utilities Division from Yellow House Machinery Company, Enid, Oklahoma, in the amount of $99,707.20.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Tammy.
Second.
Second by Jonathan. Further discussion?
I just have one question here. Is this to replace an existing piece of machinery, or is this a new piece of equipment for them?
It is to offset a piece of machinery that is getting old. It's 14 years old. It has 11,000 hours on the piece of machinery. It will still be used, but they could really use additional backhoes in that area to replace and repair leaks that are going on in the city.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
Claims.
12.2. Approval of claims in the amount of $298,713.33.
So moved.
Motion by Ben.
Second.
Second by George. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 13, we will now adjourn to convene as the Enid Economic Development Authority. Item 14, all trustees of the Enid Economic Development Authority are in attendance. Item 15, the Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 15.1, consider approval of final plans and specifications for the downtown hotel per the Master Development Agreement.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, I'd like to trustees of the EEDA, I'd like to preface that. I'm very pleased to have the developer here tonight. Dr. Patel, would you mind coming up to the microphone? And Dana, would you pull up the hotel plans, please? I know I was telling Dr. Patel when I saw him earlier, and many of you have met him, but I think our 3 new commissioners have not met you since we've started on this project. I'm very excited that we're moving along to the final plans, and I thought that you might like to introduce yourself and answer some questions, and we're very excited to have the final plans that hopefully you've had a chance to look at. Dr. Patel?
I'm Atul Patel. This is Mike, my project manager, and you're going to see the hotel development for Enid downtown. And I think the final plans are done now, so you guys should have all the renderings and elevations. We originally from Enid, Oklahoma, then moved to Alva, and then we moved to Edmond. So we know this area pretty well. So went to Monroe Elementary School, but then became a gold bug in Alva. This is just the interior plans. That's not the exterior.
Dr. Patel, if you can, speak into, Dr. Patel.
Those are just
if you
interior
can,
plans.
speak into the mic at the same time.
Yeah, those are interior plans. I think you have to go to.
Yeah, go to slide 37 if you can, or page 37. I think that shows the elevations. Dr. Patel, it looks outstanding. You can see the front, back, and sides. And then there's probably going to be, there may be a few questions the commissioners may have for you.
I would just like to say I very much appreciate that you folks have been so cooperative with Main Street and with Main Street Design Committee, and that considering the recommendations, I'm thrilled that we have a big, beautiful brick hotel, that the placement is closer to the street than some hotels might otherwise be, that you've made other concessions to make this hotel fit in better in our downtown. We really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to seeing ground broken. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Is there any other questions for Dr. Patel?
I have one. Do you plan on, I know you probably have a group of contractors and everything, but are you looking towards using some of the local contractors in Enid?
That's why I actually brought Mike, who's going to be in charge of all the construction, and he's going to be coordinating all the MEPs, the concrete, the dirt work, pretty much the whole construction site. So he's pretty well known with Oklahoma construction and been doing it for like 20, 30 years.
Oh, we have got several of our major subcontractors already in line, but yes, we will be looking for some local help. Matter of fact, I'm going to send a list up here of the type of people that we're, kind of trades we are looking for. But again, most of the people that we use are skilled in the hotel trades, and it's kind of a niche industry, and so people that aren't typically in it don't get it, so to speak. But no, we'll be hiring some local, people for sure, and definitely taking quotes from several people. But we'll be buying materials here, locally. That's
Great. Yeah, the reason why I ask is your mother wanted me to go to Alva and help on a project up in Alva, a hotel that you all built a few years back. But I'm really concerned, that some of the locals will get here and it'll help the economy as well, put some money in the pockets of the local contractors. So I'm glad to hear that.
Well, and we want to spend buy as much of our materials, locally as we can, also just to kind of keep those sales tax dollars.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'd like that too.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Make a motion to approve this then? I make a motion that we approve
Second.
the master development agreement.
Oh, one other question, Mayor, if I may. I
Just
know
a
that
minute. Who, you made the motion, Tammy?
Ben seconded.
Ben?
Yeah.
Got a motion and
Go
a
ahead,
second.
Rod.
Enthusiastically.
We've been working on this project as a city commission for a long time. And can you give us a date that you'll begin construction on this hotel down there?
Yeah.
For an approximate date? I don't expect you, to give me a specific day, but.
Yeah, so the next step we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is look for dirt contractors and utilities. That's really the first thing we have to do. So as soon as we get those numbers in, and you sign all the papers with the bank, make sure that we don't start before they approval, unless we get an approval from them. It really is going to be not, just as soon as we get the numbers for the initial dirt and utilities, we
Maybe,
start.
maybe 45 to 60 days, before any kind of official really getting in there and start turning a lot of dirt. I think that we'll go ahead and put a perimeter fence, around the site just for public, safety.
Put a sign on it, would you?
You want your number put on the sign?
Not my number.
All right.
You know, we've had one sign up there of a hotel coming, and we had
Worked
to
out
take
great.
it down, or it fell down. I don't remember which. But anyway, like I say, I'm really interested in seeing it get underway as quickly as possible, going right on up.
And I just want to follow up and say, Dr. Patel, you and your team have been, and your architect, have been so good to work with. We have the right developer in you to make this happen, not only with your connections, you've also built a hotel here in town already,
Yes,
Spring
sir.
Hill Suite. A couple,
yeah.
yes, sir. And then you have several in Oklahoma City. I know
Yeah,
I
we got a
visited
couple
you.
under construction right now, one in Oklahoma City, one in Chickasha, another one pretty close to going up in Oklahoma City.
Just
and
opened up a hotel in Bricktown down in Oklahoma City, so.
Thanks
Great.
again. We have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second. My thought is do what it takes to get it built and make it profitable for you.
And us.
Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 15.2, approval of claims in the amount of $95,170.21.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Jonathan, second by Ben.
Derwin,
Derwin?
whoever.
I have to yell a little louder down there.
Motion
Yeah.
Motion carries 7-0. Item 16, we will now adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. Item 17, trustees of the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting are all in attendance. Item 18, the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 18.1, consider a resolution increasing the 2017-2018 fiscal financial plan for the Enid Public Transportation Authority, EPTA, for purchase of 3 vehicles under 5339A and 5339B grant agreements in the amount of $158,869.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ben, second by Ron. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 18.2, award and execute the purchase of 3 24-foot minibuses from Creative Bus Sales, Inc., Irving, Texas, in the amount of $189,204.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ben, second by Derwin. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 18.3, consider a resolution authorizing the acceptance of the agreement between the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, Transit Programs Division, and the Enid Public Transportation Authority for a grant under 49 USC Sections 5311, Non-Urbanized Area Formula Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Ben, second by Jonathan. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 18.4, approval of claims in the amount of $5,098.90.
Move to approve.
Motion by George, second by Tammy. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 19, we will now adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item 20, public comments. We have one person signed up. Diane, need your name and address, please.
Diane Levesque, 1324 West Oak Avenue, and I've signed up on 2 items since it's a novelty for the Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to begin with this, and that's proper decorum in these chambers. During the block grant presentation, the same commissioner is just as guilty of showing disrespect for these chambers as he's just shown for me just now, and we all know that that's the commissioner of Ward 3. So he seems to have just settled in, and he's going to coast until his term expires without giving due proper consideration for decorum and respect for this chamber and all that it conducts. Nor have you called him on the carpet for him yet, Mr. Shuey. And as mayor, you're the person who's in charge of holding proper order in these chambers. I hold it to you, too.
I'll do the best I can.
Okay, now, I signed up about 2 different items. One, of course, had to do with a study session. Now that the study session agenda is posted up here, a reasonable person would presume that one could comment on study session items here. So if I may take 5 minutes for that and 5 minutes for my public comment. Code compliance is something that I brought up last time when I brought up the problem of flooding. During the study session, we had solid waste issues brought up having to do with clamshell trucks, rounds, and how they leave things sitting there for a long time. This year, we've had an unusual number of solid rains such that the intersection of South Polk and West Oak have been repeatedly flooded. The person who sits on one of those corners has repeatedly had to put out ruined furniture out on his front yard and would have required repeated pickups by that clamshell truck. But he's also incurring the cost of having to replace his furniture each and every time it floods. He has a sort of a basement. It's deeper than a crawl space. That floods every time that street floods, and you can keep that ditch as clear as you want to all the time, but that intersection never properly drains into that ditch. And I submit that the street department is witness to that, because one time during the spring it showed up in the dark of night trying to address the street flooding there, trying to get the storm sewers to work. It took a lot of work on their part, and I expect that they were billing you overtime for that, and they finally got that intersection to drain, but they haven't showed up since on subsequent incidents. Further, with the clamshell truck leaving things to sit and fester in people's front yards, we also have overgrowth of weeds around such piles. And it has been the case this summer where the clamshell truck finally come around and picked it up, and there's these high weeds, but there was a blank space where the stuff got picked up at, and then this code inspector came around taking pictures. That's a problem. Now, on to item 20, public discussion. I would have liked to have spoken on the block grant thing, only because Mr. Waddell brought up the business of investing in one's community. And with all due respect, you sounded like you talked like a day trader who was betting on horses on the stock market. Day traders do that. When you're investing in your community, you're talking about a long-term strategy, and I would suggest that you get familiar with the investment term dollar cost averaging. And you don't bet all of your income investing in Exxon alone. You're wanting a diversified portfolio. I trust I've made my point. There are a number of things that I wish I'd have taken notes on, and what I can't remember right now because of current events right here. I will make notes for next time and roll it over to the next session.
Thank you. Item 21, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yep. Second.
Motion by Ben, second by George.
Sure.
Please cast your vote. We are adjourned.
Good one. That was fun.
Thank you for joining us for the Enid City Commission meeting. If you have any questions or comments, visit our website at enid.org.